Hello and welcome to our AWCI webinar. I'm Lucas Mayer, Innovation Project Manager for Grabber Construction Products. Today, we're excited to introduce to you a new product that eliminates fire hazard, noise restrictions, and job site injuries. This is TrueShear.
Cutting steel framing studs? Old methods used to have no competition. Now they do. Let's see how they stack up. This choice generates sparks. TrueShear sparks productivity. Can require a fire wash. Requires one finger to operate. Cuts jagged. Shears straight. Not much of a contest, is it?
Today, we're going to take a closer look at Grabber's TrueShear. How it works, what it can do, and how it can make your job site safer and more efficient. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn more about TrueShear or to book a demo. TrueShear is a clean, quiet operating tool that's safer to use and more precise on the job site. There's no need to worry about fire hazards. There's no spark, no residual heat on your waste material. It's a true cold cutting machine. As we know with chop saws, abrasive blades, and even cold saws, they're quite loud. This is a much quieter system, can be used in occupied buildings. No need to compensate for the blade width, blade wear, or blade wobble. The dies last for 100,000 cycles and no downtime changing blades. The Grabber TrueShear boosts productivity on the job site, improves safety by utilizing internal cutting with no pinch points and no sharp edges on cut material. So the way this works is that there's two dies. This 12-ton rated hydraulic press transfers into the moving die inside of the die attachment itself. And because it's a die shearing the material, you're cutting exactly on your measurement. There's no material taken away from the abrasive blade or the cold cutting blade. You're not reducing the size. You don't have to compensate for the blade width. This is an exact cut directly where you want to cut. There's three main components to the TrueShear system. First, you have the power unit. Included with the power unit is the case. Inside is a charger and two 18-volt lithium-ion batteries. On the front of the power unit, you have the operation pin, which attaches to the die set attachments. Moving on to the die set attachments, we have a 3 5/8 die and a 6-inch die. On the top of the die sets, there's a convenient handle for carrying, or when laid flat, the front lead-in plate is also a handle. Each die set is included with a kickstand if you prefer to cut the material at a 45-degree angle. This can be installed, material comes in, 45-degree angle, or it can be laid flat. Each die set is designed for 20-gauge structural through 16-gauge. Your standard 3 5/8 by 1 5/8 leg structural steel C-style studs are designed to fit in either this side or this side, and then on the back side, this is for your track. You can cut up to 3-inch deep leg track. You can also cut flat stock on the rear side profile, and then if you have a lot of angle, you can cut up to 3-inch angle on this profile. It's really self-explanatory. It's very difficult to put the wrong material in the profiles because they're made for 3 5/8 by 1 5/8 leg and 6-inch by 1 5/8 leg, structural steel for framing. You essentially eliminate the noise, eliminate the need for a hot work permit. You don't need to take your material off-site to go cut. You don't need to set up a cut room. You can cut anywhere on site, next to glass, operating material, and then also occupied buildings. If you're doing refurbishing, there's no noise restriction. We have a really good resource available on our website that has a full list of all of the materials that are capable in this tool. As with any project, it starts with safety. So let's talk about personal protection. Always wear ear protection to safeguard against hearing loss. Protect your hands from sharp objects with gloves, and always wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from dust and flying debris. Secure your material firmly to prevent movement during cutting. Keep your hands away from the cutting area during operation. Be sure to remove the battery before making adjustments to your tool. Regular maintenance will contribute to the longevity and performance of your tool. For a complete safety and maintenance guide, scan the QR code on your screen. So one of the very few kind of learning curves with the TrueShear is knowing how to measure. Because the cutting surface itself is inside the two plates, what you need to do is measure to this inside lead-in plate. So what you have to do is offset your measurement by 1 inch. So if I'm measuring, my cut material is on my right side, I will subtract 1 inch from the material and line that up with the inside lead-in plate on this side. So if I want to do a 24-inch piece, I'm going to take my cut material, I'm measuring from this end, I'm going to measure over 24 inches, but I'm going to subtract 23. This 23-inch mark is now going to be my visual reference for my cut. I line my visual reference up. Now, my usable material, you can see the mark, which was at 23 inches, and I have a 24-inch working piece. All right, I'm going to quickly go over a couple common stud and track profiles that we can cut with the TrueShear. First, I have here 18 gauge 3 5/8 by 1 5/8 leg C-shaped studs. Whenever you're cutting a single or individual stud, this has the capability of cutting 2 at once. You can fit it in this way. You can also fit it in this way. But if I'm cutting a single individual stud, I always want to use the profile closest to me. It just cuts a lot better. So you can hear that as it cuts through the material, there's a few pops, releases, not hot at all. The edges, there's no sharp burrs going around. It's ready to be installed. Another profile that I'd like to highlight is kind of a bear in the field. It's a slotted track, 18 gauge, 3 5/8. This is a 3-inch deep leg track. All track goes on the opposite side profile away from you. The legs face towards you. So with this, you can make your measurement, and the key feature with the slotted track is that you don't really need to pay attention to where the slots are because it'll cut right through. Everyone knows that with an abrasive blade, if you accidentally cut inside of one of the slots, it can, blow up the blade a little bit. It's a little bit dangerous. As you can see here, I cut dead down the center of the slot in the slotted track, which, as you know, from if you use abrasive blades and you hit the middle of that slot, there's potential for blade shatter. This, there's no concern, no worry. It cuts clean through, right up to the edge. Another profile that I want to go through is 16 gauge, 3 5/8, 1 5/8 leg structural steel. This is known to be pretty hard to cut, very stiff. As you can see, with this material, no deformation, no sharp edges, no heat, very good cut. So as mentioned, the 3 5/8 tool will cut double steel, double stud, 18 gauge C-style studs. I'm gonna load one in the rear, or in the profile that's farther away, and then one in the regular profile as well. So now I have 2 studs loaded in, same time. Okay, so one of the things I want to cover as well is angle steel. So this is one of the very rare scenarios that this die can be used for a lighter gauge steel. The way you're able to do this is that you need to double up your 25 gauge angle. What you're going to do is you're going to put it in the bottom profile where your track would go, so that the force is going directly down on the angle. Right now I'm set up on the 3 5/8 die with this tool. I'm going to use the exact same tool. Switch over. The interface between the power unit itself and the die is the exact same on both sides. So I'm going to take the pin out, remove the tool, move over to the 6-inch, slide it on, replace the pin, and there, ready to go. All right, now we're switched over to the 6-inch die set. The first profile that I'm going to cover is 16 gauge, 6-inch, 1 5/8 leg steel. So exactly like the 3 5/8, you're going to feed it in the exact same way. I'm doing a single, so I want it back here. Now I have a piece of regular track 16 gauge 6-inch, which I'll be feeding into the far side. Now we have 18 gauge track. So we're feeding in the back, just like the 16. So here I have 18 gauge, 6-inch wide slotted track. Much like the 3 5/8 slots, you got to be careful of where you're cutting. This, not really too concerned. All right, so here I have some 2-inch leg angle, which can be cut either double layered. This is a 20 gauge material, or you can cut it individually. I'm going to put it in the bottom angle. So the last thing I want to cover with a 6-inch tool is flat strapping. This can be cut on either side of the web profile. I'm going to cut it on the first side here. Pro tip number 1 is that there's 2 buttons on the tool itself. Always remember the black button, the trigger, that is your pump. That's going to push the piston out. And then to release that piston, to push that back in, to retract the dies, you simply push the red button. So now that you press the red button, now you can engage it. Another tip is that always make sure that your tethers are connected to the locking pin for the die set, and then also the kickstand, so that you don't lose them. They're very important pieces. The tool will not work without them. You'll notice that the tool has 2 of these little loops on here, and then the tool itself comes with a shoulder strap. This is a pretty handy thing to use for when transferring the tool back and forth. You can grab the die, walk with this if you don't want to go back and get the case. Never try to carry the tool and die set itself. with the strap. It is simply for transporting the power unit itself. On the die sets, there is one handle on the top, and then to cover it again, this outer lead-in plate, these are handles as well. So when moving this tool, remove the power unit from the die, transfer them separately. Always remove the kickstand just so that it doesn't get hung up on something. So now you can easily carry it this way, or you can carry it like this. So as you can see here, I have this tool set up on a 6-foot scaffold. This is one way to do it, certainly. When cutting longer materials, I want to make sure that my scaffold is set to the correct height so that both pieces can fit through here and not get interrupted by the ladder rungs. Another thing that I recommend using are simple roller bars like this to support the end of your stud or track on the side where the side you're going to keep. The scrap pieces, you can let them fall, put into a scrap pile. In a case where you have, say, you need to move to a different floor to cut some studs, and say you have 16-foot studs, you don't necessarily need to move your entire rig to that area. You can easily use this tool off of the ground, and all you have to do is simply tip it a little bit to get the stud through. Once you get that in, you can cut the material just as normal, so you can work directly off the ground. Battery life is very dependent on the material you're cutting, but doing cycle testing with 18 gauge double cut studs, I can expect to get 150 cycles out of one battery charge. That gives you plenty of time to charge another battery and have that ready to go. Immediately after I'm done cutting with my scrap materials, they can be placed right into a box for proper disposal. No need to wait around for anything to cool down. No need to wait for sparks to settle. Ready to go, ready to clean up. So the dies themselves weigh about 65 pounds a piece. The power unit itself is about 8 pounds with the battery. The outside plate and then everything that sandwiches it is aluminum. So it's black oxide covered aluminum, but the inside is steel. If you are forced to use it in an outdoor environment, it's recommended to use it in a covered setting so that it's not getting direct rain on top of it. After you're using it in this environment, it's recommended to use compressed air to blow out the dies, make sure everything's dry before storage. With the 6-inch tool, because of the size of the profile, this cuts individual studs. With the 3 5/8 tool, you can cut 2 20 gauge structural or 18 gauge at one time. This consistently will cut 2 studs at one time in 8.5 seconds. Each power unit and die set comes with a 2-year manufacturer's warranty. These dies are meant to last 100,000 cycles without resharpening. After 100,000 cycles, if you start to notice that your dies are worn or chipped or need replacement, they can be sent in for resurfacing through Grabber. It's recommended that the tool be serviced by changing out the seals and fluid every 20,000 cycles. Thank you for joining the learning series about Grabber TrueShear. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn more about TrueShear or to book a demo. For any further questions about operating TrueShear, best practices, or maintenance, please contact your local Grabber sales rep.